How you doing this morning?
Good, good. Yeah, I wasn't planning to get up this early on Saturday, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah, what time do you usually get up on the weekdays or in the mornings on
Weekdays I'm
weekday
pretty
morning?
good. But even still, um, I've trained myself to be what I consider an early riser, as
Mm.
someone that's like always just been well into the night. So for me, most days I'm up by like 8:45, 9,
Yeah, okay.
which again to me feels really good. 'Cause I work in schools
hmm
and usually don't have to work till like 11.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Are you teaching?
I teach guitar and piano
Yeah,
in schools.
that's
yeah.
right. I didn't know that. Didn't you say you were doing like a drum lesson? Like you had like some
Yeah, I
kid come
started
in.
giving drum lessons.
How are they going?
Oh, good. Honestly, really fun. Because like, you're just teaching rhythm. When they're
Mm.
that young, like, they're not asking me any questions that I won't know the answer to. Like, none of them are going, I'm trying to work on my molar, bro.
I don't even know what that means.
It's how you do triples with
Okay.
one hand.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, they're kind of just like
Yeah,
wanting
it's
to hit
kind of just
stuff.
like you teach them, this is a paradiddle, and that's like 4 months of lessons right there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, the getting up at 9, like, or 8:45, 9. Like, especially when you're playing gigs. If you have like a gig once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and then you're trying to get yourself up at 6 in the morning,
Yeah.
it's just like you're getting home at 12, 1, 2
Yeah.
in the morning, and you're just wrecked, and it just sets you off. I've been doing that a lot this year because I got him, as I was saying, 5:30 in the morning, and then I had a gig on Wednesday night, and I was home like in bed by like 12:30, and it's like I'm up in fucking 5 hours. This is gonna be
Yeah.
so brutal.
It's brutal. Yeah. That's a lot of the time as well. I find when I go to rehearse for something, I'll go to a session that I finish work and like I'm not gonna go home. I won't have the time to go home, so I just like hang around or like sit in the library or in a park
hmm
and then go to the session. And then wraps up. It gets to like I get home at 9:30, which isn't that late, but I haven't really done anything of my own
Yeah,
during the day.
yeah.
So I get home and I like, yeah, by the time you cook yourself a meal or sit down and start reading or like, I don't know, record a little something or just get in a long practice session, it's already like midnight, 12:30.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, shit, got to do it all again.
Yeah, I know. I had that. That was what I was thinking yesterday when I got home from work. I was like, I've been up for, what was it? I've been up for 12 hours and I haven't done anything of my own yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked the dog, exercised, then I went to work, and then I get back from work, walk the dog again. I went, I haven't even touched an instrument yet. This is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, onto the pet therapy stuff, hey?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, the album, how long's the album been out now?
2 months. A bit more than 2 months. 2.5 months.
Music for Meditation?
Yes. Music for Meditation came out September 14th, I'm pretty sure.
Hey, that's my brother's birthday.
There you
One
go.
of my brother's birthdays. And how have you felt in this 2 months? You've had this kind of gestation period of let it sit. Are you someone who can that you like listening to your own music quite regularly after it comes out, or are you kind of burnt on it because you did all the mixing and mastering?
Yeah.
So you need a lot of time. Have you had that time? What's it like now?
I don't think it's hit that time yet. I think it's getting there. Like we had a new housemate move in, and so like he's a musician as well, and we were just sort of talking about. He's like, "Oh, what's your band like? Can you show me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can." So I put on the album like on a CD, and it was the first time sort of doing a full listen for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit to a few of the songs where I usually cringe because I'm like, oh, dude, this mix is terrible. But I was pleasantly surprised.
Cool.
Yeah, I think what's been really good is in terms of the band, we've just done like a string of shows where we're sort of taking the money for ourselves, being selfish, or I guess taking somewhat of a wage.
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah, so we've just been doing some like loose shows here and there, opening gigs, like mini local festivals, and just taking it really easy in rehearsals, just like jamming, which is something that we haven't really had the time or energy to do in the whole build up to the release of the album. and yeah, it's really a first opportunity to get to jam with Ella, who's been in the band since like February,
Yeah.
and with Cleo, who's been in for a while now as well, since like June. Yeah, so I guess it's made me more excited for the future. Now that this is out, we don't have a single song written that isn't released. So whatever come next, we're starting from scratch, basically.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Hey, because I mean, you have no idea what will come out from these jams. It being there's no written music. When you say there's no written music, do you have ideas that you come in with? How does the jam begin? Is it just someone starts playing something and then everyone jumps in, or do you have some little chord progression, or does Ethan, or is there a drum beat? How do these things usually kick off?
Historically, we've very much written songs like one person comes in with an idea, sort of work out that another section, and then I go home and top line it. So write the lyrics and make a structure. But recently, it's kind of like we haven't really been jamming with as like, I guess, with that structure in mind as much. We've kind of just been like, Aiden goes, hey, listen to this new like 5/8 groove I've got. And so we just end up playing like that same groove over and over. I've also been learning a few Balkan tunes that are usually for the violin on guitar, just because they're like fantastic speed exercises. So I think that's next.
Okay, Balkan 5/8.
Yeah, and Ethan actually is Balkan, so I just think like, yeah. No, just odd meters.
Yeah, I think that pulling in from the world music, different areas of pulling outside of the pop Western influence is super refreshing in so many ways, because at what I imagine, I think at Pet Therapy's core is still like there's still a pop core to it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, verse, chorus, bridge kind of thing going on there. But when you can start pull those other sounds, I feel like that's kind of the refreshing cycle, or that's when new ideas or refreshment is kind of injected into pop music. You have someone, an example is like a Kevin Parker, Tame Impala. You have someone who is in their room and they're making their own kind of sound. It's very psych rock, all this kind of stuff, and they are developing their own unique blend of sounds.
Yeah.
And then they decide, I'm going to be a bit more commercial or pop with my production now. And all of a sudden, this uniquely built sound is now got the backbone of very, very pop production. And now pop music has a new injection, a new kind of inspiration in it. And then all the people who can't make their own sound start, replicating off what Kevin Parker has done. And then you have the same things from everyone else. But looking outside and pulling those influences in, this is a really great way to go about it.
It's something we've always tried to do. I mean, it's hard when you like just start a band, and like this album was a few songs that were around from like the very start. When you start a band like recently, unless you all come together through really specific circumstances or with like a really specific goal of I want to make this kind of art, it ends up being like pretty vanilla and watered down, I think, because often when you start, it's just the nature of the game. You get in and you try play something that you all feel okay about, and before you've played with someone long enough, often that is like pretty stock standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you need to kind of develop a secure relationship before you learn to take those risks.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so I think we, as much as the end results end up being like very much like pop rock songs, like it's almost like I don't know how much we ever intended that. At least I think with like there is an element of like what is catchy, what's a good pacing for a song. But we've also always had like, we're all kind of music nerds, so we've always had the desire to like pull in something. For me, it's always been like a harmony that's similar to like the Argentinian folk tunes.
Okay.
That I know, which is pretty functional harmony, and it goes like pretty unnoticed. But for me, I know it's in there.
Yeah,
That's enough.
yeah.
That makes it intriguing enough for me. Yeah, so I guess I just see this odd meter, hopefully, if we continue to explore it, as an extension of that. Something else to pull from, but yeah.
Yeah, so you're Argentinian in your mother and father?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was born over there.
Yeah, and there's the song that we recorded here for the live session, which is BBL.
Yeah.
And that one you're speaking Spanish, singing in Spanish.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that song. Like, how did that one come about? What are the lyrics about? I have no idea what you're saying in that song. It sounds so good though.
Thank you. What are the lyrics about? It's kind of just a love song with some weird metaphors in there. Then the second verse is sometimes I want to tell everyone to fuck off.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's lyrics both in English and Spanish, at least for this project, where it's very much music first, then lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm often like thinking about just in a more abstract sense of, does the mood fit? Do the words sound good?
Do words sound good as in kind of cadence of syllables?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, lyrics, I don't really know how much I got to say there. But that song's been around for a while, since the very early days. But when we started playing it, it was like only 2 sections, and it was really different. Like it had a totally different verse. It was a lot slower, and it was kind of like grungy.
Yeah, okay.
And instead of the chorus being like a da 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 da, it was sort of more strong da 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 da.
Okay.
And then over like the new year, we were down a member, and it was right before Ella joined. There was like a period of inactivity with the band, and sort of my way of coming back to it was tried to sit down and write. Nothing really came out. And we had the drums recorded for that in the like slower, grungier version, but we tried to track drums, guitar and bass. No one really liked it.
Okay.
So I deleted everything but the drums. I sped it up, added like a disco beat in the verses. Yeah, and just messed around trying to make it a synth pop tune without really any intentions of it, like of it being for pet therapy. I'm just like, let's just try something to kind of like revitalize my love for the project a bit more in a period where we kind of hadn't done much. And they all really liked it. Yeah, I think it's a special one to me, not only because I'm singing in Spanish, but also because it very much is like 80s. It's got like a sort of vaporwavy, post-punky maybe? I don't know. It's got like
Ethan's guitar's got that brings that in, especially when you move from like verse into chorus.
Yeah.
That kind of drony bending snap that he does going in there. It sounds great.
It's got like the sort of blonde redheady vibe that like I've constantly is for me like the biggest influence, what I want to go for with this band, that I don't think we've hit in many songs except for BBL and Go Where I Won't.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah,
that's not to say I'm not happy with the other work we've done. It's just like what I had in my head when we started the project.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed getting to mix that song. That was a lot of fun. The introduction of the fullness of the introduction with Cleo in the band now too. Just what that 4 count of the drums playing and then it coming in with a synth and the guitar just hitting it is so nice, so satisfying. And Go Where I Want was the other one that you mentioned, and it's the other song that we have recorded. Are you saying that that's one that you also feel most satisfied with?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's probably my favorite. But I guess as far as like vision, like as far as if you ask me, what's a track that's like the closest to what you hope you'll do going forward, I'd probably say Go Where I Won't.
Yeah, that's a really distinct song. First time listening through the album, that one, like, I caught onto that. I remember seeing you guys at your album launch and saying that song stuck out so much for me.
Yeah, it's probably the most like conscious effort we've gone to putting a song together. Like a lot of the time we've done so and kind of like a show's coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to jot down some lyrics. We got to play this live. That one we really took our time with, and like the structure moved around so much as we were writing it. We rehearsed at Ethan's, and one time we like sort of wrote all the sections down, and would like change the order, rub it all out, write it again, to the point where it was just so messed up. And like we were using like verse, chorus, bridge. We should have just used like A, B, C, because one time Ethan's housemate got home from work, walks into the garage, is like, how come the outro's in the middle of the song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that is a kind of hopeful and I suppose, inspiring thought for me, for your band, hearing that the song that you put the most conscious effort into and took the most amount of pulling apart, putting back together, is the song that ended up being like the most distinct and the one that caught my ear as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite exciting for you guys to hear that. If you knuckle down and really work on something in a very, very focused way, you can produce something that
For sure.
of high quality.
For sure. And I think it's like, again, yeah, it's just what we want to go for, I guess, is more cerebral. I don't know if that's the right word. Just more like music that's more mentally involved.
Thoughtful.
To write, I think. Yeah. Because writing tunes with your friends, kind of no matter what they are, is really fun. But yeah, I think we've got good musicianship and like tastes that really overlap. A capability to do like kind of wackier stuff, which I hope we do.
Yeah.
A bit more going forward.
Is 5 members in the band, right?
Yep.
Have you found in the making of any of the songs, or even in jams, that there has been a pull or tension between what people want? And if you have, how have you guys resolved that, or has it always been smooth sailing?
It wasn't smooth sailing for a lot of the first year. So when Ethan started the band, like the sort of ads he put up was like, I want to start like a pop rock, funk rock band. And he was like, I want to make songs that sound like Chili Peppers or The Strokes. Which I joined, and at first I was kind of just like, I'd auditioned for a few bands in the scene, and I kind of just wanted to start playing. So I'm like, whatever, let's do it. So the first like 6 months were a lot of sort of tension in terms of what I'd want to do and what Aiden would want to do, as opposed to the rest of the band, because Aiden is like huge metalhead, so he'd be like, this section can be an 11. It was just kind of messy, and it didn't really feel like there was a shared goal, which led to a lot of like, not arguments, but like, I guess just discussions in terms of the direction of the songs. And I guess some of them just being end results that we weren't as happy with. But I think as we've gone on, we've all like developed a level of patience and humility with each other, as well as ability to just hear the other person out.
Yeah.
You know?
So
like,
important.
what used to happen a lot was like vetoing. Like,
okay.
Like I'd say, oh dude, instead of making this a 4-bar loop the second time through, let's get this third chord, borrow it from the minor key, whatever, a bit more movement. Something that might have just got immediately vetoed and been like, nah, that's too weird, let's just keep the same, is now always, let's try it.
Yeah, that's really good to hear.
Yeah, and so I think that often leads to a far slower process in terms of writing songs, but I'm really okay with that, because it means of the last 3 songs we've written, they're not things that I would have ever written just fully on my own. And like, I'm happy with them. Sure, if I had a second chance to write them, I'd probably, because of my taste, I'd add stuff. I'm sure Ethan would say the same. I'm sure Ella would say the same, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the ability to trust that it's worth hearing everything out first before making that call is really, really important. And also, it's not just for, there's the point for like the sake of the song, because you don't know what it could be or what's going to sound good until you hear it try it out. But then also for the sake of everyone's satisfaction in the band, for an individual being like, I think this will really work, and then not getting to have it heard or not getting it heard out, that's probably going to build some resentment. They're going to get pissed off. And,
for sure.
You got to make sure everyone gets their voice heard in these projects.
Yeah.
Unless you don't, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of bands where there's veto power just reign supreme. I'm sure that's the case. I don't know any examples, but it would be surprising if big bands or bands that make great music are all in the act of hearing every idea out all the time.
Yeah, no, I've been in bands where it's sort of like, one person just kind of has the ability to veto everything, and it's like pros and cons to every workflow, because what you get with that, like with one person just being like, nope, I'm calling the shots, is ultimately a lot more output, but I'm also not in that band anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm still in Pet Therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Ella has said something similar. We did this kind of interview before, and I fucking lost the files. Classic. But in that interview, and Ella talked to me just when she was joining Pet Therapy, maybe a little bit after, one of the reasons she was so excited about the band was that it was a kind of creative and freedom of expression where, she got to have this kind of input, and because she has a history of being a session-based player and just playing professionally in session bands or being booked to play weddings and so on. And that I don't think she would be in Pet Therapy either if it was veto power.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember that when she joined, like, started asking me, like, oh, can I, like, change this bass line? I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Play some, play whatever. If one of us don't like it, you'll know about it. We'll say something. And I think that's another really good thing. Often, what we've trained each other to do that I guess didn't happen in the earlier days is if you're vetoing something, like, have an alternative.
Yeah, okay.
I think is a really important thing, because it can be really, like, when you're bringing something to these people that are your mates, if you just get no, I don't like that, but then no one says an alternative, it can be really, like, disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
But often I find if we're working on something, whether that's a song or, like, a bit of promo or, like, a write-up to apply for something, just, like, someone saying, I don't like that, how's something like this? I don't know, it creates more of a discussion, because, like, if you see everyone else agree with that person, it's easier to, like, be like, yeah, okay, whatever, they're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the hardest part about making the album was?
Wow, God, mixing and mastering it. This one, was, I think, what I didn't like about the process, how this album was, like, a lot of old songs, and part of the reason we wanted to put it out was kind of to get started making something new.
Yeah, just get it out.
With the new lineup, I'm like, we have these songs, they're good, but we just kept rehearsing them with these new members. And often I just didn't like how we'd play a song, or like, I'd have a song, like, mixed and mastered, and we just, like, didn't get a chance, or, like, members didn't want to, or whatever, just for one reason or another. The bass that ended up on the record instead of being Ella was, like, me on one song, like, our old bassist on another song. And then it's just with Cleo as well, it's also because of how late in the stage of I guess its release she joined. But yeah, I was bummed we didn't get her playing synth on any of, like, the songs. She basically, like, did the whole thing, but me and her did, I don't know if you've heard the 2 ambient tracks on it, Music for Meditation Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're great.
So Part 2 is, like, I made some synth noise and some trombone noise, and then she did a bunch of awesome sound design. So I think the hardest part of that was, like, mixing and mastering and, like, trying to have it all ready, but then also lamenting that, like, it's not taking full advantage of the lineup we have now. Yeah. So it was a tricky one. I think it was hard to timeline, hard to place. Because I'm glad we got it out so that we now just have that space and that freedom to write. Because I think inevitably what would have happened if it didn't come out and we tried to keep writing was that we wouldn't want to drop these songs from a future release because I think they're good songs. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a similar feeling of the necessity of just kind of clearing out that clutter. I mean, it's all precious, right? It's all nostalgic. You love it, so much sentimental value, and you think it is valuable, and it is in a lot of ways. But it is baggage that's weighing you down, and you need to kind of clear it out of the way to make room for the next thing. Okay, what was the most fun part about making it then?
Most fun part. Most fun part for me about recording is like, I guess the pre-mixing stage when like you've done your rhythm tracks, your drums, bass, guitar, then just all the embellishments on top of it. I like absolutely adore just getting like the track that's almost done and just like sitting back and just trying stuff, being like, oh, this little synth there, oh, this little classical guitar trill here. Laying down the lead vocal and then just arranging harmonies. Yeah, that is an absolute blast to do.
Yeah, the embellishments.
Yeah, just sitting down and recording. Like I use Reaper.
Yes.
And Reaper has never ever crashed on me. And some of the tracks, some of the sessions for Pet Therapy tracks have gotten up to like 80 individual audio. Yeah.
That I find that is also one of the most fun experiences when you have a lot of for the tracking process, the brunt of the work done, and then you can sit there and you can really play. And you know, that's when I find, I don't know if you have some experience, that's when your brain starts just doing its own, like improvising. A sound will pop up in your head and you're like, oh, how can I make that sound? And all of a sudden like you hear like a one-shot percussion here or so on. You're like, what would it be like if I did that there? And then you end up, you know, for example, like you're in the back of an amp and you're plucking the reverb string to try and get it to make some sort of sound that you want. Yeah. What about you, Zig?
Yeah, it's it's a really beautiful process. I think like lately I've been like I guess on and off for the last like year and a half. I've been doing session work on one of my friend's albums called Hayden, and like last week we had the final vocals session. So we did lead vocals for one of the tracks, and we also did a bunch of harmonies. And the guy is like, God, he's done well. He's not really a classically trained muser. He did some theater, but dude just went and arranged a whole album, like a bunch of backing vocals, arranged for a string quartet just with the help of someone else.
Yeah, wow.
Wrote a piece for harp, for piano. Dude just brute forced.
Yes.
Brute forced it all. And so with the harmonies, there was a lot of them where it was a really interesting and fun process, because he'd have like these harmonies and I'd be like, well, you've got these two voices in unison here. Or like here, you're technically harmonizing with the third, but it doesn't work with the chord. So just going and workshopping a bunch of it, and I ended up singing on a few of the tracks as well. But yeah, it's with vocals especially. It's been super fun doing that with him. And now that we have Cleo in the band, Cleo is like a fucking insane singer.
Okay.
I think. Well, I mean, I feel it's a disservice to myself to say we have different strengths, but sometimes I feel like she very much outsings me.
Oh, really?
She's got such a wide range. It's got like a really delicate voice, but then can also like belt in a really like, I don't know, frantic way almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear some of that. I'm keen to hear more of that.
Being able to do that in rehearsals, just in real time, being like, I'll take this note, can you take this? And just it happening has been so great. Because we've tried in the past, but Ella and Ethan, God bless them, they've got great ears. They can do like your basic third harmony. But having another singer, like having another proper singer, who sort of like knows the voice as an instrument. And you can not only say, hey, can you sing starting on this note, but you can say, hey, can you do this like in a soft mix? And like they've got the ability to do that. You know?
Oh, dude, I remember having that discussion with the band that I was playing in, where we had backing vocals, and it's just like everyone's voice came in. It was just all like chest voice pushing out. I went, oh, it sounds like shit, guys. Can we make it breathy? Can we make it breathy? And it's like the inability to do that. I was like, okay, stand like a meter back from the mic, man, like, because this isn't gonna work. Yeah, that's a great, because the textural quality of like many layered breathy vocals coming in is just that air that comes out makes it so, it's a cloud. It's such a good feeling.
That's great. It's also like made me as a singer kind of be more, because I've been like just singing, not playing guitar for like, except for one show actually, which we did last week.
You play
for
guitar?
all of Pet Therapy. Yeah, I played guitar for the Unplugged show. And as a result, like I've really lent into just sort of like moving my body around and really not being strict with the timing. Like I'm really lazy on it, on a lot of phrases. And I'll sort of like, we'll do a chorus. I might record it one way, but we get to it live and like the phrasing's just like swung or messed up. And so I think that's been tricky as well for Cleo, because I'm like, can you harmonize this? And then she's like, okay. You like just change the melody completely, and I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, okay. That extra person in there means you got to be a little bit more regimented or a little bit more constrained with what you're doing.
Just for certain sections.
Yeah.
But I think often, like, if you want a harmony in there, probably for the best that it's like a bit tighter anyway.
Sure. I mean, at least you get to play with that kind of push-pull, right? Because when there's no harmony in there, you can really go off. Yeah. And then to be able to lock back in with a harmony would probably make it feel all the more intentional and impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite cool. The influences in the album, who do you reckon, or what do you reckon were some of the largest influences on the Pet Therapy sound in the album?
Ooh, I mean, I can't really speak, I guess, for all the others. Again, I think we all have pretty like vast influences in terms of like something is brought in from like, I guess, Subtle Art, for example, go off our first EP. That bass line was originally brought in being like, hey, can we do like a Childish Gambino soul type thing? Which is not what it turned out being at all.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, as far as like overall vibe, like what I want the songs to sound like, Blonde Redhead is always, again, they're fantastic. I don't know if you've heard much of them, but
no, I haven't.
Would very much recommend. Then, we were doing a Nirvana cover for a while. I think it was Breed.
Hang on, he's got something in his mouth.
Oh. More tape?
That's the bottom of the mic. It's a mic stand rubber foot thing. Mic foot? I don't know.
Yeah, so Gone Too Soon, for example, was like our, okay, can we get Nirvana? Can we get like punkier, grungier, louder? And it was fun, and I think we still got, and then the like verses, the sort of, you made this happen. We were going for like Jamiroquai.
Okay, yeah, I do hear a little bit of that throughout the album.
Yeah. So I guess, there's a lot of moments where we play and sometimes just feel like a cover band. Like often when we write, we're not really going for the uniqueness in terms of like, oh, this is so new and fresh. But we'll talk about it. So, let's go from the Jamiroquai section. And we go from there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Or like, let's go from the Nirvana intro.
That's cool, man. I like that. I like that there's, complete shamelessness in it. We're influenced by these people. This is what we're going for. Let's not try and hide it. That's
for
good.
Sure.
Good. I think people, a lot of bands get that. I know that I definitely felt it early on. When you finish a gig and someone comes up to you and they say, "Oh man, that was great. It sounds very much like this." You kind of think, man, fuck that. I'm not anything like that. I'm so unique. But being able to accept that, maybe even learn to take it as a compliment, is I think it's a good step.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a folk musician. By trade, like the bulk of what I learned about music came from like learning Argentinian folk tunes. So I guess for me, the concept of like this has to be unique is just like, well, fuck that. I want like, is there such a thing? Is it important? Because like you see people that are trying to be spearheads, but I think all it leads to is like, really, your music isn't that different, and you're just seeing everyone else's competition. Like,
Yeah,
you're just getting increasingly more jaded for the sake of like self-importance. Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of overinflating of your ego, of your art as something unique. As it's cool to hear, I didn't really click until you just said it. The idea of, I consider myself a folk musician coming from Argentinian folk songs, and the whole idea of the folk tradition is kind of the passing down of songs. It's like a heritage tradition, and I mean that's what music was for the longest period of time. It wasn't something that people were going, I'm making this totally unique in mine.
For sure.
And being able to come from that tradition into a contemporary, more pop arena. That's cool. That's really nice and refreshing, I think, and be able to come in there. It will kind of bulwarks you, sets up a barrier between that kind of over self-importance and ego.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still a little bit of that. Everyone's got to deal with it.
For sure. But I guess it's just going back to, I guess, the workflow with the band. I think like seeing the songs as less like products has been probably the biggest thing.
What do you see them as now?
For us, we all oh god, I don't know, like just things, the little things to show our friends that we've put together and we think are cool. We see the cover art as a product. We see any like physical media or shirts we make as a product. Our shows are like also a product, I guess. Or a service. They're there to make us money. But I think the songs are the one real moment we get to like step back. And I think, we were talking about it last time we had the band here as well performing, that it still is a consideration, but I could just guess it's a lot lower on the priority list than it was at the start. Like the catchiness or audience engagement with a song, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I remember, if I do remember correctly from the previous conversation, the conversation led to a point which we said, having the art can't be subservient to anything else except for trying to make it as good as it can be. And then the idea of like it being catchy or it being something sellable or so on, like that all comes after. And you can do the marketing or the product, that can all come just through good marketing and through good shows and through good networking. It's like, as long as you guys are making the best kind of music for you, then everything else after that, you can market the weirdest shit ever and still be successful. It's just like, how good is your marketing? How lucky were you? Whose hands did you shake? Yeah. Those kinds of things.
I think it was oh God, I always forget their names. Was it Bjorn from ABBA that said it? I saw an interview with him once, like where the interviewer was just like, it's extraordinary. Everything you guys put out, everything you guys write is hits. Do you guys like have a team? Are you scouting the pop charts? Are you like trying to make this marketable product? He's like, I think I'm just very lucky that my taste lines up with most of Europe's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting that, I mean, I honestly think that most people's taste lines up with almost everyone else's taste, right? It's really interesting when you meet or when you see music that is so undeniably, the person who's making its taste, and it's so different and it's so distinct. You go, man, it's like, I don't know what kind of what emotional states or what kind of perspective you have on the world, but for some reason I don't share that because it's just so foreign to me. Yeah, that actually goes on to a question that I wanted to ask you. So I had this kind of epiphany when I was at work and in the work bus, and the work colleague put on a Savage Garden CD.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't like. I heard the name Savage Garden, and I heard of the name before, and I soon learned that I knew quite a lot of their songs. But I thought they were a metal band because the name is Savage Garden. I didn't draw one and one to get or two and two together, whatever that saying is. And whilst it was playing, the work colleague, they love this band and they're singing it, and it just was not doing it for me at all. And I'm thinking, like, previous version of me would be thinking, it's not doing it for me, therefore it's bad.
Yeah.
And then realizing that, you're not like the locus of all judgment. You can't just you can't just say what's good and bad. And also, you say it's bad, but this is a chart-topping band that millions of people go to see. So clearly, it's doing something for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the question is, in a sense, like, what do you think? Why do you think some music appeals to massive groups of people but doesn't appeal to you? And why do you think music appeals to you that doesn't appeal to other people?
I mean, it's all culture. I feel like. So what we've like music in the pop charts has been like, I feel like largely similar since the 80s. Like if you look at the top 10, what's going like 80s sounds are still in the charts now.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I love them, but yeah, I feel like if you're accustomed to something enough, like have you ever like lived somewhere, just been somewhere with a slightly out of tune piano? And you just get used to the out of tuneness of the piano.
Yeah.
And it's like after playing it for a while, you like it. It sounds fine to you. I think the what leads a lot of people to sort of like make music that to them is gold, to other people not so much, is just like their own weird relationships to culture. Like a lot of like Australian punk bands, or like I guess Aussie rock bands, I just don't do it for me.
Okay.
Like I just don't hear it, and I have a lot of respect for them. Like, yeah, they're doing great. It's really cool to see how big some of these Aussie bands are getting. But like, I was born in Argentina. I grew up with like, my parents still have like the thickest accents. I still like only speak in Spanish to them. And same like half in Spanish to my sisters as well. So I don't know, there's almost like this level of connection to Australianism in its very overt sense that I just don't understand. I don't really feel connected to, which like essentially alienates me from the music. I feel like I can still appreciate it, still hear it, and I'm like, cool, but I don't really know if I can enjoy it as much as like someone with all their family from here, born and raised here.
Yeah, I mean, there would to count. I mean, on the other side of the argument to that is that they're obviously, I mean, like an Amel and the Sniffers, the Chats, those guys, like they're so successful in so many areas of the world now.
Yeah.
So people who don't have access to that Australian culture are still connecting with it in a certain deep way. I do hear that though. There is definitely a kind of, I don't know, a language you have access to based on the culture that you are grown out of that might not line up with the kind of words that people are speaking or like the music that people are making. I was thinking when I was that Savage Garden CD came on, and I reflecting on other bands that I know, like the 1975, and then another band called The Bleachers. These bands just like, they're so popular.
Yeah.
They're so popular, and they obviously do it for so many people. And there's so much respect there. Like, but honestly, I can't do it. I'm thinking, I thought that I would like to hear what you think about this, that whatever, like the way that I'm thinking that whatever way these musicians experience their emotions or they experience their life and the perspective that they have on their life, it just doesn't line up with mine. at all. So they might experience love and happiness and sadness and grief and anger like everyone else does, but just the flavor of that and the perspective they take on it is just so different from the way that I experience it. So it just doesn't line up, and I can't relate to the art. It doesn't make me
Yeah.
feel those emotions
Yeah.
like it would make the millions of people feel that are their fans. Whereas I can listen to, I mean, I have had conversations with people where they go, you know, why does anyone like Nirvana? And this kind of question just popped in my head when I first heard it. I went, what do you mean? Why does anyone like Nirvana? And then I went, okay, thinking of that person's, the palette of their experience, the palette of their emotions. So they're not angry in that kind of way.
Yeah.
They don't have that rage or that kind of maybe like depressive, melancholic distaste for a lot of the world that Nirvana really embodies in that powerful way. And then when I listen to Nirvana, and there's like moments on, especially in Utero, where Kurt Cobain's voice, just like not even when he's singing a word, like the breath and the utterance before the word, it just taps into something immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that, I feel that in my life, and I'm thinking, okay, if that's what makes me feel when I listen to your music is that I can relate so strongly one-to-one with that emotional state, then that must be what I'm missing when I listen to the other music. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot in terms of like performance, that if a performer like is expressing something in a way that feels alien to you, you're just not really going to get it. Like,
Yeah.
I consider myself like a pretty calm dude, pretty calm person. And I think as a result, I'm like really partial to just slow music. Like, I'm not huge on Nirvana, but the Nirvana moments that like I really adore are like when it's singing slow, when Kurt's doing the real like closed mouth, whispery, you know?
Yeah.
Going back to Blonde Redhead as well. Her style of singing is very like up there, breathy, exasperated, and the songs are like pretty drony and like slow. Tom Waits as well, huge fan of like Tom Waits ballads, where he sounds like Ian McKellen for a lot of them. Just like really breathy, really. So just these like super simple piano ballads. I think all of those kind of embody how I get when I'm angry or sad, you know? Whereas like I can listen to a lot of other stuff. Like I can listen to, again, Aiden's a metalhead. If I'm driving with him, he puts on Slipknot, I can listen to it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. But again, I don't like, sort of connect with it as much because he sounds angry, but it almost doesn't make sense as much to me to yell like that if you're angry. You know?
Okay. The way that you express your anger is very different.
So I think there is a big part of that. And I think there also is like a big part of why pop music, if you're talking about performers, like at the top of the charts as well, there is a sort of way, I believe, that people are kind of conditioned to express their emotions. It probably has, I don't know how big of a claim I'm making with that. But it probably has something.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. People are going to be
there.
conditioned to express their emotions in certain. I mean, not in terms of a grand conspiracy, mass conditioning for people to like certain musics or products and so on, which may or may not be occurring. But definitely, you know, when you're a kid and you go to school and you throw a tantrum, all of your peers, the way that they look at you as like, this kid's freaking out, I don't want to be near them, is conditioning you to not act like that. And like containing that emotional state. And the same thing, like when you're being really friendly and you're a kid and people reciprocate it, and you're being conditioned, and like the way you get rewards and incentives, everything is conditioning us.
Yeah. It's like I think there's in terms of performers, there's a sort of normal, just in terms of like being able-bodied, being like I guess talented at singing in a way that's like that I guess the vocal has been taught for a while. Like I think you hear a lot of similar kinds of singers. They're just when you find performers that like that their voice just doesn't do that as well, they're kind of more likely to go and do something weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like my voice doesn't
Yep.
do this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You're looking at those like top of the charts that I don't know. It's like they might touch on a lot of emotions, or they might touch on. I mean, actually, I think about it. The range of emotions that they touch on is more limited than non-pop music, because in
Yeah.
non-pop music people will go anywhere. So the range of emotions is limited, and like the depth in which they touch on those emotions is probably more limited in general too. I'm thinking of like an Ed Sheeran. He'll move between like heartbreak, love, happiness, joy, sadness, and so on. But like the depth in which he'll drop into those doesn't seem to be as intense.
Yeah.
In some places, it's absolutely not true. Like there's definitely songs. I mean, if I think of like Adele as well,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a Adele piano ballad with her singing it, and you feel like your heart is breaking with
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
So there's exceptions to the rule always, but there's a kind of a safety in those top 10 chart songs in which you're not going to have to really worry about someone taking you, into a really dark place or a really extreme place or a really, they're all going to keep you like quite straight and narrow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think with performers like August Harding as well, you just get these moments where that are sometimes like really challenging to listen to, because the things she does with her voice, like she might explore a similar range of emotions to Adele. Adele will do like a breathy, still like insanely sung passage. August Harding will like squeak it through her nose, or like get a choir of children
Yeah.
to sing along with her,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely like that's probably why that music's up there. There's like a safety with a range of emotions, which just means that more people are gonna like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, like if you try something stranger in terms of your performance, there are a lot of people that just are gonna clock out.
Yep.
Are gonna get it, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It is.
Yeah, it's like it's a risk you got to take, or a risk that's fun to take, I guess, as a performer.
Yeah, it makes me think that it made me think in that conversation just then that the experience of when that album, that artist that hasn't done it for you suddenly does.
Yeah.
How strange is that? That you can go from you're clocking out, but your friends are all saying, listen to it, and then you go, it's not working for me, and they go, no, listen to it.
Yeah.
Or you just come back to it, or for some reason you get a thought, yeah, I'm going to try and listen to that again, and then it just it gets you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think you can train yourself to like anything.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. You was talking about like that out of tune piano thing. You keep playing it enough, you're going to enjoy it. I'm like, if you keep listening to this music enough, you probably learn to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like I worked at a Chinese restaurant, and like I would serve noodles to the customers, and as you serve noodles, you do like a little routine. And it's like a show. It's a fancy place.
Okay.
And as I would do that, I had a watch with a speaker that had 4 buttons on it, and it played 4 songs with 1 per button. One of them was Dance Monkey.
Oh,
The other one was that Justin Timberlake one he did for Trolls.
oh yeah. Can't stop this feeling.
Can't stop the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't remember the other 2.
Okay.
But like I hear those songs come up, and like when back then I would have just like shunned them and be like, oh, fuck that song. Now I'm like, dance for me, dance for me, oh, oh. Just can't help but
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
sing along, Yeah.
Yeah. Back on pet therapy. You guys got any more shows for the rest of the year?
We have 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken. We're playing. One of them is like a really small. We were reached out to by a student at JMC, I think it's called. Kind of doing a music industry course.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like playing a little showcase there, only on for like 15, 20 minutes. But I'm excited about that.
At JMC?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one specifically because like it's such a short set, and then we're just like kind of meeting people that like do lights and and can potentially help us with like admin and promo. Like
Yeah.
Maddie, the girl who got it for us, putting together an EPK for us. Electronic press kit.
Yeah.
Which is like not a complex bit of thing. It's like a document with like links to photos and videos and a bio and like stuff that has been said on the radio about you or whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to like meet more people that are able to do that or able to help us do that. Yeah, and then I think we're supporting... Ooh, I should know this. We're supporting a touring band, I'm pretty sure, on the 21st of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Then we got one more. But I don't know. It's been a busy year in terms of gigs. Yeah. I think I'm like between Pet Therapy and other bands and my solo stuff, I think I ended up doing like 45 gigs in total.
Nice.
Yeah, it gets to a point where they're all kind of, which one have you got coming up this week?
Something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, I got something.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's good to hear that you have that access to that JMC, especially the music marketing and business. Because I remember when we first talked last time you were here, I was asking you guys about the desire you might have for success. How do you balance that with the desire just to make art for and that your friends enjoy? And I remember Ella and Ethan kind of saying, yeah, of course we would love to be successful, but like we're not gonna we're not really putting effort into our promo. We're not really putting effort into like making these kind of videos or marketing ourselves because that's kind of secondary to you. And it would be awesome to have someone who would do it for you.
Yeah. I mean, they're not. No. We have we do understand the importance of it, and as frustrating as it is, it works. It works. If you've like done your job with promo, posted your content, like invited your mates, your show will have people rocking up to it. And if you've been lackluster on it, that people won't. It's the name of the game, but it's certainly like we're not doing it to a level that I see like a lot of other people doing it. And for some, it's really natural. Like you see a lot of bands posting every day, and they play and they kill it, and you're like, how do you have the time for this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's just. I don't think we have a single person that like is enthusiastic about social media. Unfortunately. Yeah. So I guess it's more about having someone that is capable and a bit more enthusiastic. Like,
yeah, they really enjoy that aspect.
Yeah. Like we were talking about having someone on payroll. Like we, as far as profit, not really. But we had a pretty good year in terms of money coming in. A lot of it went out. But like enough to get someone like on a part-time salary on like 3 to 6 hours a week, just taking care of admin.
Yeah, that's enough.
Which like we're not getting at this stage. We're not getting a paycheck anyway. So like,
yeah, and if you had that person doing those 3 to 6 hours, and that meant more people at shows, which meant more tickets, then it would just like pay for itself quite quickly.
For sure. Yeah. So I think on that point of success, it's like sometimes it feels like what you have to do to get there is not the thing that's good for the stability of the group, both as a social unit and as a creative unit. Can
you explain that more?
Like, I guess often you get musicians in a room. What they're good at is rehearsing their songs. If they've like played with each other for a while, they're good at listening to each other and being creative, and maybe like planning for their future. But if you get out of that room, and there's emails to stay on top of throughout the week, there's like keep your social media up, otherwise like the algorithm won't pick it up when you do make an announcement. That stuff is not natural, at least to us. And maybe it can work if you've got like a system where everyone's doing it, but we don't really seem to. And when we do, the times we have like sort of prioritized being like, okay guys, we need to push promo, okay, we need to do this. What suffers is the writing, is our enjoyment of rehearsals.
Yep.
Like we come in and we'll write the songs, we'll do the same, but it's just like we've had this show on our mind the entire week. We haven't. You're promoting a show, your brain doesn't really get time off. You wake up and you're like, shit, I wonder how many tickets have been sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That's exactly where I am right now with this solo project. But like, as I was saying to you before we started recording, just the recognition of after I finished all of my day job and chore duties that I have to do, it's like, okay, I get a bit of time to practice some instruments, and then I have to make more promotional material because I'm going to run out of it quickly. And like, that's going to take me maybe 3 hours, 2 hours, because I'm not particularly fast at it. And it involves like recording, setting up microphones, mixing, and then like syncing videos and so on, which I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's like I haven't written songs.
Yeah,
Which isn't that the point? That I'm trying to write songs?
Yeah, it's the thing of like trying to wear too many hats. Yeah. Also in terms of the social cohesion, it's like often in like most circumstances I've seen, it's like 1 or 2 people taking care of the social media. And like you're all working for free. That's if there's like one person doing more than what they feel is just, that's something that also builds up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So for me, like I take on the bulk of the social media. Ethan's pretty good at replying to social media, to emails and like sending off invoices and stuff. But neither of us really do that too much, because there's been times in sort of like build up for shows where I'll notice it. Like if I've made a really big effort with social media, there's like kind of a sense of entitlement that like starts to creep up. And like we'll get into a rehearsal, and like, I don't know, I have an idea for the show and I'll be like, okay, let's play this track as we come out. And then like someone will be like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. And I'm like, well, fuck you, I did all this work.
Yeah, okay.
And it's not a nice feeling. Like you don't want to feel that way. And so I think a lot of the time, certain things are just more demanding than others. And if your thing is social media, that's, I think, the most demanding, to be the social media person for a band. It's like not easy. It's your life every day.
Yep.
Pick up the phone. And I don't want to do that. I know what you mean. Yeah. I schedule them all. And even still, we have meetings with PR guys and they're like, your socials look okay, but like post to your story more, reply to the comments. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to be on the app more often. Like I'll schedule it. I'll keep up appearances. Fine. I get it. But like,
yeah. I mean, I suppose that's for those PR guys, social media, that they're thinking in terms of, I mean, if you want to develop a kind of community, the best way to do it for them is through social media, which in all honesty, you have like the largest amount of reach and constant access to everyone that's following you. So in a sense, that's true. Yeah. But if you're able to create that community through face-to-face interactions and at your shows, then I think that's, I mean, there's two, the way I've heard of it, there's 2 ways to increase like the amount of plays that you're getting and increase the amount of money that you're getting. Increase reach, so the number of people that are listening, or make each person that's listening worth more. Yeah. So if you have, 5,000 people listening to your songs once and they all come to a show once, okay, that's good. But if you have 1,000 people listening to your show, the songs like 10 times each, and they all come to 10 shows, then you've doubled.
For sure.
I don't actually know if that's how Spotify works in terms of like the monthly listener. It's probably different there because you only have 1,000 monthly listeners compared to, but the 1,000 monthly listeners will stick around. Yeah.
No, for sure. And it's like something that's also really weird as well. It's like at the end of the day, it still feels like if you're booking local shows or sometimes even anything in Australia, a lot of it is still word of mouth. Like it's hard to book interstate shows without knowing people interstate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without, like,
Go to
without
Sydney
having
without
to-
knowing anyone, man.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bomb.
Yeah,
Done
it's,
it.
yeah, you do, and you play to no one.
Yep.
But like it's sometimes seem like unless you have the 1,000 or 2,000 Insta followers, like they won't even consider it. They won't give you stuff a spin. They won't like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is a shame because like, I guess with us we're not doing huge numbers yet, but like, all of our headline shows that the last two we did them at pretty small venues. Both of them brought like over 50 people, which for those venues it was Cactus Room and Ringo Bar. So it like.
And the Ring of Bar was acoustic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been packed, 50 people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was so like, and the headliners of bigger venues we've done before have brought like 100 or more.
Yeah, there was definitely over 100 at that album launch at Catfish.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a
Like,
great show.
We do okay numbers, but only recently, like our Instagram, I think, I don't know if we're at 1,000 yet or just bordering. Even now, I just think with the 1,000 and with the making more of an active effort to post, bookers like, and people we reach out to, just like take you more seriously, and people reach out more to us, whether it's through like emails, PR agencies, or like other bands to play. Stuff that just didn't happen when our social media was just a bit more lackluster and we had like 600 followers.
Yeah.
Even still, which were like, wasn't that long ago. And it's like, we're doing the same numbers at headliners. It's like the same community is there. Like it's similar people coming to the shows. It's not like there's not that much of a new physical audience now. I think there definitely is, but like not significant enough to like it's the social media.
Yeah, right.
And that feels like a shame because it's like
It is
Yeah.
because I mean, it just goes to show that those marketing companies, those PIs, most of those people aren't on the ground going to gigs regularly, which is what they would have been doing like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's how they would have found the talent. And now they're just like, okay, criteria for finding talent is that they have to have this many followers minimum. Like they might not have that written out, but they're going to think like, I'm not going to pay attention to someone with like 300 followers.
Yeah.
Even if that band with 300 followers has 300 people coming to shows.
Yeah.
You know, which doesn't really happen that often. It's so crazy to think that you have, I mean, I was talking to a guy at a show on Wednesday and their band has 15,000 followers. And I was like, you know, talking to him about his marketing techniques, they're very much going for the TikTok band kind of, or they have been in the past. Now they're pivoting because what they realize is, you know, they have a few videos with like 1.5 million plays on them. You know, it got out to the real internet.
Yeah.
And then 15,000 followers, 80 people at their show.
Yeah.
And so this, like, that is an example of that quantity versus quality. It's like you have so many people paying attention to your Instagram, or so many people that have followed you, but then you still only have 80 people who will locally come to a show.
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to amend this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's rough. Like sometimes you look through your message requests or your followers as well, and it's like, these are bots.
Yeah, who are these people?
Like,
yeah.
like what,
Who are
what's
these
this
people?
account called QDXXX101?
Yeah, it's like, let's follow my link.
yeah. Follow my link. Okay, it's a real person. They'll definitely come to the show, right?
Yeah, surely.
I'll shoot
Surely.
a message. I'll put you on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a funny door list.
Yeah.
Kitty XXX.
Yeah.
It might get to that point one day, hey, where like the door list just looks like Instagram handles. Like, because you don't actually know the names of people.
Yeah. So it's I think that's sometimes it can feel really dystopian going for but it's also why we want to have like a PR team on our side. And why it's frustrating when they're like, okay, we can't work with you yet, but keep up all this social media. And I'm like, well, why would we pay you if we have to do it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's we're not going to, it's like the classic record labels, like, we're not going to pick you up until you already can earn heaps of money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then why the hell would we join you if we can already do it? Like,
Yeah,
what is
if we're profitable.
You're
why
like,
give it a profit?
you have the resources to scoop up the talent and increase their trajectory, accelerate their trajectory.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. It's just like everything's just so much less profitable. Yeah, like, yeah, you're lucky if you're taking home some pocket change from like playing a show.
Yep.
And often you don't want to, because the reality is what it costs to like hire a photographer or go record, or like venue hire if you want to do like a bigger show.
Mm.
It's just huge compared to the
Oh,
money you're
yeah.
getting. Like we gigged really heavily this year, and through no fault of the bands that had us, but we got paid like $30 for some of the gigs.
Yep.
It's like, what are we gonna do with $30?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted to say about the album or say about the project before we wrap up?
Ooh. Anything I want to say? Yeah. Probably won't hear from us for a little bit. Not for too long.
Mhm.
But yeah. Plan is to hibernate, but keep an eye and ear out, I guess, for new things. We'll announce something soon enough. Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, Sal. Sal from Pet Therapy, everyone.
Thank you, Vinny from Kids Next Door.
Yeah, we don't actually play anymore. That band's retired.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Hey, that perfect timing. My next my band rehearsal's on now.
There you go. Oh, that's a shame. I didn't know Kids Next Door was.
Yeah, we're done.
Vogue's replaced it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
sick.
man.
Well, glad you're still writing with Vogues. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.